If you are already over 70 years old and you've heard a doctor say that the perfect blood pressure is 120/80, you need to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. For decades, this number has been repeated in doctors' offices, hospitals, and health programs as if it were the ideal goal for everyone. Many people spent their entire lives believing that the lower their blood pressure was, the better it would be for the heart and the brain. But the truth is that after a certain age, this rule may not work in exactly the same way. In some cases, trying to keep blood pressure exactly at 120/80 may actually increase certain risks for older adults. And this happens for a simple reason. The body of someone who is 70, 75, or 80 years old does not function the same way as the body of someone who is 30 or 40. Time changes many things inside our bodies, and understanding this can make a huge difference in your health and quality of life. First, we need to understand what blood pressure actually is. Imagine that your body has an enormous network of tubes through which blood flows constantly. These tubes are your arteries and veins. The heart works like a pump that pushes blood through these pathways to deliver oxygen and nutrients to every part of the body. Blood pressure is simply the force with which this blood pushes against the walls of the arteries as it circulates. When we talk about 120/80, we are referring to two measurements. The first number is called systolic pressure, which is the force of the blood when the heart beats. The second number is diastolic pressure, which is the pressure when the heart relaxes between beats. For a long time, doctors believed that keeping this number around 120/80 was the best way to prevent heart disease. And for younger people, that recommendation works very well. When someone is 30, 40, or even 50 years old, maintaining blood pressure in that range usually helps protect the heart, the brain, and the kidneys. The problem is that as the body ages, several changes occur. The arteries gradually become stiffer. The natural sensors that help regulate blood pressure become slower, and the brain may require slightly higher pressure to ensure that blood reaches it properly. This means that what was considered perfect for a young adult may not be the same for an older person. Imagine a garden that needs water to keep the plants alive. If the water pressure in the hose is too weak, the water doesn't reach the end of the garden. Some plants don't get enough water and begin to wilt. Something similar can happen inside the body of an older adult. If blood pressure becomes too low, certain areas of the body may not receive enough blood at the right moment. The brain is one of the organs most sensitive to this. When the brain receives less blood than it needs, a person may feel dizziness, weakness, darkened vision, or even fainting. And this is where an important point comes in that many specialists have begun to notice in recent years. In some older adults, especially after age 75, lowering blood pressure too much may bring unexpected effects. Instead of providing full protection, it may increase the risk of falls, fainting, and other complications. And when an older person falls, the consequences can be serious. A fall may cause fractures, head injuries, or even lead to a loss of independence. Researchers began investigating this issue more closely. In a large study that followed more than 15,000 seniors for several years, scientists analyzed how different blood pressure levels were associated with their health outcomes. They observed people with lower pressure, moderate pressure, and higher pressure. What they discovered surprised many experts. Older adults who maintained very low blood pressure, close to 120 or even lower, experienced more fainting episodes, more falls, and in some cases, more health complications. Meanwhile, those with moderately higher blood pressure levels appeared to have fewer of these problems. This does not mean that high blood pressure is good. Very high blood pressure is still dangerous. But the study suggested that for some seniors, a slightly higher number may actually be safer than a very low one. To understand why, think about the brain again. The brain requires a constant supply of blood to function properly. It is like a city that depends on a continuous flow of energy. If the pressure drops too low, the blood may not reach the brain with enough force. This can cause dizziness when someone stands up from a bed or chair. Many older adults have experienced that moment when their vision darkens for a few seconds after standing up quickly. That happens when the brain temporarily receives less blood flow. When this occurs frequently, the risk of falling increases significantly, and falls are one of the leading causes of hospitalization among older adults. In many cases, the problem doesn't start with a serious disease. It starts with something simple. Blood pressure dropped too much when the person stood up. Another important factor is that many seniors take medications to control blood pressure. These medications are extremely important and save many lives. However, the body of someone who is 75 or 80 years old processes medications differently than the body of a younger adult. Sometimes the same dose that works well for a middle-aged adult may lower blood pressure too much in an older person. In addition, aging brings changes to the kidneys, liver, and nervous system. All of these organs participate in regulating blood pressure. As they change with age, the balance of blood pressure also changes. Because of this, many specialists have started defending a simple but important idea. Blood pressure treatment should be individualized, especially in older adults. This means there is no single perfect number for everyone. Each organism has its own reality. Some seniors feel perfectly well with pressure close to 120. Others feel better with slightly higher numbers, like 130 or even 140 systolic. What matters most is how the body responds. Experienced physicians often look at several signals. They ask whether the person feels dizzy when standing. They ask about recent falls. They observe muscle strength, balance, and energy levels throughout the day. All of this helps determine whether blood pressure is appropriate for that individual. Another point that draws attention is the relationship between blood pressure and brain circulation. The brain needs constant blood flow to maintain memory, attention, and other important functions. Some studies suggest that very low blood pressure in older adults may be associated with cognitive difficulties in certain situations. This happens because the brain may not receive enough blood flow at certain times of the day. It is important to repeat, this does not mean high blood pressure is safe. Extremely high pressure remains a serious risk for the heart and brain. What science is showing is that the ideal balance may change with age. The goal is not to allow pressure to rise uncontrolled, but to find a safe range for each person. Many experts believe that for some adults over 75, a systolic pressure between 130 and 145 may offer a good balance between cardiovascular protection and healthy circulation to the brain. Another detail worth noting is that blood pressure changes throughout the day. Blood pressure is not a fixed number. It rises and falls depending on activity, body position, and even emotions. When you walk, climb stairs, or stand up quickly, the body must adjust pressure rapidly to maintain blood flow to the brain. In younger people, this adjustment happens in seconds. In older adults, the mechanism may be slightly slower. That is why standing up slowly from bed or a chair is such a common recommendation for seniors. Giving the body a few seconds to adjust can prevent dizziness and falls. Another important factor is hydration. Many older adults drink less water than their bodies need. This can contribute to drops in blood pressure, especially on hot days or after long periods without fluids. Proper hydration helps maintain adequate blood volume for circulation. Diet also plays an important role. A balanced diet supports cardiovascular health. Fruits, vegetables, fiber-rich foods, and adequate protein help the body function better. Reducing excessive salt intake remains important to avoid dangerous spikes in blood pressure. Moderate physical activity is another great ally. Light walks, balance exercises, and stretching help keep circulation active. Movement strengthens muscles, improves balance, and contributes to more stable blood pressure control. Sleep also influences blood pressure. During the night, the body goes through important recovery processes. Good sleep helps the cardiovascular system maintain a healthy rhythm. People who sleep poorly often may experience blood pressure fluctuations and higher cardiovascular risk. Stress is another factor that can affect blood pressure. Emotional tension may cause temporary increases. Simple relaxation techniques like deep breathing or moments of quiet during the day can help maintain balance. Despite all this information, the most important thing to remember is that each person is unique. What works for one individual may not be exactly the same for another. That is why any change in blood pressure treatment should always be discussed with a doctor. Open communication with a healthcare professional is essential. Reporting symptoms such as dizziness, weakness, darkened vision, or falls helps the doctor adjust treatment more safely. Sometimes small medication adjustments can greatly improve well-being. It may also be helpful to measure blood pressure at different times of the day. Some people have normal pressure when sitting, but experience significant drops when standing. This condition is known as postural hypotension, and it is relatively common in older adults. Identifying this pattern can help prevent accidents. Another important point is that medicine is always evolving. New research continues to improve our understanding of how the body ages and how treatments should adapt to this stage of life. Years ago, many treatments followed a single rule for everyone. Today, we know health is far more complex. Personalizing care based on age, lifestyle, and individual conditions is becoming increasingly important. Growing older does not mean losing health or quality of life. Many people live very well after 70, 80, or even 90 years of age. The secret is understanding the natural changes of the body and adapting care for each stage of life. Regular medical visits, healthy eating, staying physically active, and paying attention to the body's signals can make a huge difference. The body always sends messages when something is not balanced. Learning to listen to those signals is a powerful way to protect health. Blood pressure is just one of many factors that influence well-being. Caring for the mind, maintaining social relationships, cultivating hobbies, and continuing to learn new things also help keep the brain active and healthy. The good news is that small changes can produce big effects over time. Standing up slowly, drinking water regularly, walking a few minutes every day, and discussing blood pressure goals with your doctor can help create a safer and more balanced routine. The most important thing to remember is this: health is not just a number on a blood pressure monitor. Health is having the energy to live your day, the balance to walk safely, the clarity of mind to think clearly, and the ability to enjoy time with the people you love. If you are over 70, it may be worth discussing with your doctor which blood pressure range is most appropriate for you. Every case is unique, and finding the right balance can help prevent problems and improve quality of life. Caring for blood pressure does not simply mean lowering numbers. It means understanding the body, respecting its changes, and seeking a balance that allows you to live safely and peacefully. In many cases, that balance may look a little different than what people believed in the past. Science continues to learn more about aging every year, and the more we understand the human body, the more we realize that true health lies in balance. Sometimes the lowest number is not the best number. The best number is the one that keeps the body functioning well, without symptoms, and with good quality of life. That is why the most important message here is this: knowing your own body and working together with a trusted doctor is the best way to protect your health. Accurate information, attention to your body's signals, and professional guidance can make all the difference for living well at any age.